Hello, and welcome to Simple Steps to Online Success with Deanna Fenton, brought to you by DeannaFenton.com. Deanna is your go-to gal for all things techie. She will show you how to break down all that confusing internet marketing jargon and how to take simple steps to move your business to online success. And there's no geek speak allowed. Now, here's your host, Deanna Fenton.
Hi, everybody. This is Deanna Fenton with Simple Steps to Online Success, and I am so pleased today to introduce you to our guest, Angela Lau of Course Connection. And Angela is a member of the Go Big mastermind group that Kim Doyle and I have put together, and I have just been so impressed with the work that Angela is doing and thought she would be an excellent guest to have on the podcast to talk about creating online courses. Because I know so many of you out there are interested in creating that online business, and you want to have a way to get your content and get your message and be able to share your expertise with the world, but you may not have an idea of how to actually get started. So Angela's background is that she's been an instructional designer and teacher for over 10 years, and she's created and delivered courses to multinational companies in Shanghai and Beijing, plus institutions in Sydney. Her qualifications also include teaching undergraduate and postgraduate degrees in teaching and adult education. And not only that, she happens to live in one of my favorite cities in all the world, Sydney, Australia. So welcome, Angela, to Simple Steps to Online Success.
Thank you, Deanna, for inviting me.
So I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your business and your background and how you happened to decide to create this type of an online business.
Sure. I started working online when I started my first online business, where I was creating programs to teach English skills to professionals with a non-English speaking background working in English speaking companies. And as I was creating all this content, a lot of my peers were asking me for advice on how to turn their content into online courses. And I just thought, wow, the more I do this and the more research I go into finding out more information about creating content for online courses, I thought there is a real need for people to learn how to create fun and engaging courses.
Well, that is really fascinating because I can see how that can be a challenge. I know it's difficult for me because I know a lot of information about a particular topic, but it's being able to format that and create it and present it in a way online that I guess kind of supports the one-on-one that you typically get when you're working with an individual. So how do you work with your clients and what kind of results do they find in working with you?
I work with my clients in different ways. I've got the one-to-one training sessions, and that's where they send content over to me and I look at their content. We have meetings on Skype and I give them advice on how to deliver content that matches their clients' needs. And in the next few months, I'll be releasing courses where it's just for the general public, so they're not specifically tailored, but it's just like general things to think about for those who just want some general ideas just to get them up and going to create content for online courses.
So who are your clients? I mean, what types of business? Are they coaches and consultants, or have you found there's a specific niche that you attract?
I thought I did, but the more I do this, the more I'm realizing the niche is people who have been running a brick and mortar business for a while and they want to reach out, create a greater reach to clients outside of who they're normally reaching. So, and the internet is amazing how it can give us access to clients from different parts of the world. So I've been really lucky to have worked with people based in the States and also in the UK. And I know if I had a brick and mortar business, I would not have been able to do that.
I know, and that's one of the things that I love about the internet is the ability to reach so many more people. And it is interesting that you're saying that they are typically the brick and mortar, because that's what I see some of our audience, or a lot of our audience actually, is are people that are doing something currently that they want to be able to teach or train other people to do it and have the internet be the means of reaching out to them. So do you find, because you've obviously created courses for the standard teaching environment, are there differences when creating a course that has to be presented online versus the standard teaching models that we've always had?
I think when we teach online, a lot of courses tend to preach because we don't see the people. When we teach offline, and I know when I'm in the classroom, I engage with the students. I talk to them and there's communication happening. But on online courses, that tends to disappear. So we have to be creative in thinking of alternative ways to be able to connect with the learners.
You know, and it's interesting because that's obviously always the challenge online, and, you know, we encounter it in social media, is trying to reach that level of engagement and into almost intimacy with the people that we're communicating with. Is there any specific trick or tip that you give people when they're creating their content to be able to get them out of the preaching mode and into the engagement mode?
Before you deliver a course, get to know your target market really well. Know what they like to do, know what they like to, how they like to learn. Just like the more you know about the target market, the easier it will be for you to create content. So a classic example would be, currently I'm working with a lot of men in the engineering field, where previously in the past I worked a lot with females, and we all know men and women are so different. And I find when I'm delivering courses like in person, it's easy for me to adapt and to change my style. But when we're delivering online courses, we have to remember to make that shift, which can be very subtle.
Well, and that's really interesting. So I have to ask then, how do you feel the difference is in when you're working with the men, and especially with a topic like engineering, versus working with women?
With the men, they like things to be short, straight to the point, and active. So they want to be able to do something straight away. They want to see instant results. With the females, they're more touchy-feely, and I know this is just...
Oh, yeah, but it's true.
I find if a female learner, if they feel comfortable and they feel safe, they're able to produce much better results and achieve their goal in learning.
So it almost sounds more like when you're working with a female client, you might be more of the coach, right? I mean, you're helping them and structuring the content, but you have to coach them through it?
Definitely. There's a lot of mind stuff happening, and I find once we've had a very short conversation and we've acknowledged, yes, it is scary, yes, it's overwhelming, let's have a look at your dreams, let's have a look at what you want to do with the course, where you want to go, where you want to take it. It's much easier to head that way once we've tackled the beast of anxiety or fear.
Well, but that's excellent, because that's something that we have to overcome before we can be effective in communicating. So tell me then, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see that people make when they're trying to translate their knowledge and expertise into a course, especially obviously an online course?
The first one would be overwhelm, giving too much information in a short period of time. The content can be amazing, can look beautiful, but if there's too much, you'll find people will just stop because they're not seeing any results from what you're teaching them. The second one is voice. Know how your target market likes you to talk to them. So the way I speak to the male engineering students is so different to how I speak to females. So I don't change my voice, as in, I don't talk like...
Oh, come on. Give us an example. No.
But it's just more like, I noticed, I picked this up the other day, I unintentionally lowered my voice. I didn't nag as much, but I talked more about the end result. And then I told them how easy it was to actually achieve it. And then it was just really, for me, amazing to see them just head down, okay, we're going to do it. Whereas with the females, it's more, I don't have to worry about my voice, I can just talk normally, but I just check in to see how they're doing. And once, they feel okay, we just go ahead and do the work.
Well, no, that's an excellent way, and I think that's an important lesson for those people putting courses together, is exactly that, and realize the differences in how people are going to accept and hear the information. And I like the point when you talked about overwhelm, because I think that it's extremely, especially now, because I know I get very enthusiastic about what I have to share, and I can go on and on and on and on, and you just want to cover all the bases. And meanwhile, the poor student is like, well, wait a minute, I'm still trying to process the first thing you said. So is there a guideline for how long, say, a module in a course? And actually, I do want to talk to you about how you recommend structuring them, but is there a kind of a guideline for how much content to piece out, I guess?
Okay, so how to structure the course and not an actual lesson?
Well, I guess maybe start out with structure of the course, because, I guess it could be broken into modules with lessons within each module. And then each lesson, how do you prevent them from being overwhelmed?
Okay, great questions. So if we start with the big picture of the course, I'd focus on one theme. So what is like the one big thing you want the learner to be able to do, and then work backwards, kind of like reverse engineering. And just think about the steps on how to get there. And I'd organise the steps from easy to hard, because if you start with easy, then it's going to support the learner in achieving their goals to get to the end result.
Well, that makes sense, because I guess there's no sense in overwhelming someone and then they feel like they didn't get anything out of it, or they're overwhelmed and they can't move forward on it and be actionable. But in terms of then the content to get that across, after you've decided what your big objective is, if they take this course, they are going to learn X, and go through the reverse engineering on from the more difficult, working backwards to the easy, then how much content in each one of those segments should you have?
That really depends on how complex the issue is. So if there was an example, that would be really easy for me to explain. But normally I would, for one lesson online, I find a 5-minute video is good that focuses on one skill. And I'd start the video with the objective on what they are going to learn, launch into the steps on how they're going to achieve the objective, and then finish by repeating it, by saying, this is what we've learned in this video, you'll be able to apply this into XYZ area of your life. So it's just, I think what people are afraid to do is repetition, and as an absolute newbie learning your content, you've got to remember that people don't remember things because they're so focused on learning and trying to grasp the new ideas that it's okay to repeat something as long as we use different words to repeat the same idea.
That makes perfect sense, because I think there is a saying, and I'll probably screw it up, but, tell them what you told them and tell them what you told them again, or there is a saying like that. But that makes perfect sense, because I think I imagine there are statistics that say you need to hear a particular message so many times before you can really process it.
Definitely, yeah. And the more we see it and the more we are able to apply it into different areas of our life, that's when we've actually transferred that new knowledge and adapted a new skill.
So have you found any particular combination of the media to educate? So you talked about videos, and obviously video, and again, it depends, of course, on what we're teaching people, but videos seem to be very big right now in terms of the courses. How about things like audio files or creating print materials? I mean, what's the best format in terms of assembling that kind of media for a course?
It really depends what you're teaching. So if you're teaching someone how to use a particular plugin, I'd use video. If you're talking about abstract ideas and you don't need to show them how to do something, I'd probably use MP3. So then people can actually download it and do the housework at the same time, wash the car, or while they're going out for a jog, listen to what you're saying. Pictures are great when you're showing them how to create something from scratch. IKEA catalogs, like if you're showing them how to assemble a table together, it's really good to take pictures of the parts. So yeah, it really depends what you're teaching them, and also the target market. So if your target market is busy mothers with children under the age of 3, there's no way they're going to have time to watch a video.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So MP3s and possibly like a PDF transcript, so then they can so when they're breastfeeding their children, they can read the content, and highlight and stuff.
That's us as women. We multitask.
Yeah. So it's really just knowing the target market, what they like. So if I go back to the engineering example, I know a lot of them don't like reading. So a lot of them are visual and a lot of them like audio. So I deliver this course in person and online, and so a lot of my content are downloadable PDFs and also MP3s, which they can download and listen to afterwards.
I have to say, from my experience, any online course that I take, I don't always have time to sit in front. I mean, I'm sitting in front of the computer all day long. I don't want to sit in front of the computer and watch an hour-long video, but I would download a PDF of the transcript and read it and highlight it. And then if there's particular things that I want to go back because I understand there was a demonstration or something, then I can go back to the video. But I guess that really is having the opportunity to provide the content in as many different forms that people can consume as possible.
Also, I was just thinking as you were speaking, I'm also aware that as entrepreneurs, we're very time conscious. And so it's very easy for me to say, have multiple forms of format to deliver your message in an online course. But I think when you're starting out, the best thing is just to zone in and ask your target market, what do they like? What do they want? And if you're creating an online course for the first time, just create content that suits their needs. So for the busy mothers, maybe those downloadable PDFs and an MP3 file is all you need just to get yourself up and running. You don't have to do the videos.
Okay, that's good. And then that cuts down on the overwhelm for the person putting the course together as well.
Yeah, there is pressure to produce a course that is amazing, like all the other amazing courses available online. But sometimes it's good for us just to get started and to take the first step before we add the building.
Yeah, well, and that's we say that in the Go Big Mastermind all the time. Done is better than perfect. So what are some of the ways or any tools that you recommend that people can use for creating their content? They're in their course materials. I mean, things that you've seen, even people that are not particularly technical, but there's things that they can use that are pretty easy to implement. Mm-hmm.
My first go-to tool when I'm writing content or typing content is to use Grammarly. It's a bit of an irony that I make a lot of typo errors because I'm a trained English grammar teacher.
Do as I say, not as I do.
I know. So Grammarly is just awesome, and it picks up on a lot of the errors, because I know we don't have a lot of time as entrepreneurs to proofread our work. Sometimes we just need to get content out, and Grammarly checks our work as we type, which is really good.
Oh, I need that. I've never heard of that. I need it. Okay. Excellent.
The second one is Scrivener. I love the layout of Scrivener. I think it's originally set up for writers of books, but when you're organising content for a course, I'm a visual person, so I like to see things in boxes, and it does that for you.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because I just downloaded the trial version of that to my MacBook, because I've heard of that, and I heard a lot of people recommend it for creating your for written content. So I confess I downloaded it, and that's about as far as I've gotten. So okay, I'm gonna have to delve into that.
It's really good fun to play with it. The Beaver plugin.
Beaver plugin.
Yeah, that is just beautiful. It makes the content on your website just looks gorgeous. Because I change my themes a lot on my website, and I'm delivering content online, and Beaver plugin, it's just so easy to do. So someone who's not tech oriented, you don't really, and I have to confess, I didn't read the how-to instructions.
And you just launched into it? That's great.
Yeah, and it makes my content look pretty. And I don't need to hire a developer.
Oh, now bite your tongue. No. No, I am all about the do-it-yourselfer, believe me.
Well, okay, I confess I did hire a developer to help set things up, but she taught me. It's so good, because there are times when we won't be able to get in touch with our developer straight away. And it's good to know that the developer is in the background supporting me. But sometimes when, you get that burst of inspiration and you just want that up on your site now, or yesterday, Beaver plugin allows you to do that. And the last one is Camtasia. It's so great to actually do recordings, my videos and stuff, instructional videos. That's been my life.
Now, are you kind of self-taught on Camtasia, or have you gone through like their tutorials? Or because I use Camtasia also, and I love it when I'm doing PowerPoint slide presentations, and because it's got a great plug-in to PowerPoint. But the editing part, I confess, I struggle sometimes with the editing.
YouTube's
Okay, we're going to put YouTube down too as a tool.
It's amazing. If you type in your question, like whatever you're stuck with in using whatever plugin, somewhere someone has done a YouTube video. It's just so funny. And so you could say I'm self-taught, but YouTube has been my master.
God bless Google and YouTube, I've got to say. Okay, awesome. Well, and we're definitely, don't worry, everybody. We will have links in the show notes with links to all of these tools. And I want to jump in on the Beaver Builder plugin too, because I just redid my website, and I used Beaver Builder to enhance the home page, because I'm a big Genesis theme person, but Beaver Builder does give even the novice website owner the ability to do what we would call visual editing. And I think, you said, Angela, you're a visual person, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons you really like it, because you can see exactly where you're placing those little individual modules and on the page. And as you add your content, you see exactly how it's going to look. So that is really an awesome plugin.
And it makes your stuff look pretty.
Because Lord knows pretty's important. Awesome. So those are some awesome tools. I'm going to look up Grammarly, because I had never heard of that one.
I do know, like, when we put things up online, we have to be careful that we haven't taken content from another site, etc. And Grammarly has this really good tool, which I haven't looked into yet, but I will after this show, to see how it works.
I don't want to get off on too much of a technical aspect, but is there a particular program? I mean, we're talking here primarily about WordPress as the basis for delivering your content through a WordPress site. Have you tried different versions of the plugins to protect the content? Is there one that you like better than the other?
Again, Google's been my friend on this one. There are so many good plugins. There's a content protector. I'm more than happy to share it with you in the show notes. I don't know it just like off the top of my head right now. But I did send that off to a friend yesterday, actually. So I can share that with you.
Okay, awesome. So look in the show notes. We're going to have a link to that information as well.
So what that plugin does, because I know we spend a lot of time, or we pay a lot of money for people to create amazing content. And the last thing we want is for someone to steal it. And this plugin actually protects your photos, videos, and also the content that you've written up on site. I'm not too sure about MP3 files, though.
Yeah, I guess I wonder how you probably wouldn't be able, unless, because you have to allow the download anyway, so that might be. But, okay, so that's a great tool as well. So, Angela, this has been great. So how can people learn more about Course Connection and working with you?
They can go visit my website, which is www.angelalau.com.au, and on the website you'll actually see my podcast show. And on the podcast show I go into more detail about how to create really cool content that attracts your clients, and also they'll want to learn more about what you teach them.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again for joining me, and remember, everybody, to check the show notes to get the links to the tools and the recommendations that Angela gave us, as well as links to her website to visit her and listen to her podcast. Thanks again, Angela.
Thank you so much.